Hey guys, 12-inch here. As you may have been able to surmise by the title of this video, I think jumping is right now. I keep getting asked for a guide, so I'm gonna make that guide, okay? But I'm not gonna like it. Let's just go through a quick thing of what we're gonna go through. We're gonna go through discords, what jumpers to join, what I look for in a jumper, why I would join one. We're gonna look for what plan do I think is good, what population and how many whales versus how many F2P do I think is good, and we're gonna go through obvious red flags for our jumper groups. After the jumper group, because that's the most important part of the guide, I think personally. Next, we're going to go to the jumper guide itself. We're going to talk about our goals, the 7-day skin, what we're looking for in terms of a KD, how we win KvK 1, and what our long-term goals are, and other things like that. And then we're also going to go over a sleeper versus a jumper account. With all that being said, let's hop into it. I don't want to be here any longer than I have to be, because honestly, at the end of the day, this jumping shit is really horrific compared to just play the game normally, honestly. Okay, so over here we have two very successful jumper groups. We have Kingdom 2969, the Golden Order, and we have 2990, which was the Empire. Now, these guys, I'm not gonna lie to you, I know the Golden Order has had their issue with a civil war versus like a super mega whale, and the Empire, I believe they had to migrate out of their original kingdom, right? So not everything has gone absolutely stupendously for them. Obviously, for me, I'm in 2500, which is another very successful jumper group. So over on my left bar here, you're going to see a myriad of different jumper groups. Great Gods and Goddesses, Tokyo Souls, the Golden Family, Secret Knights, the Elementals, Royal Dragons, right? You see basically everything. I'm in damn near every single jumper group that has ever been known to man since like 14 or 15 months ago. I just always join jumper groups. And one of the main things that I look for is, number one, I join jumper groups because exposure is always nice. Getting up my reputation with the community is awesome. I also join jumper groups so I can get ideas for videos and so I can help out the community as a whole. Generally, when I talk to people in these jumper groups, progressively, everybody has gotten, I don't know, maybe I have just been evolving as a human being, or jumper groups have been like getting smaller and worse as time goes on. I suspect this has something to do with the jumper nerfs, but like it is very difficult to find jumper groups with like good, solid leadership in terms of like what I would be looking for if I were to jump again. A really good example of this is going to be the Empire Discord. Not a lot of people like Psycho, War Dog, however y'all want to call him. Not a lot of people are like huge fans of this guy, but he has done, I want to see 2 or 3 jumper groups, and they have all, Discord-wise, been absolutely excellent. Now, whatever happens in Final KD, happens in Final KD, but realistically, I'm looking for a really solid jump, and I'm looking for like the first month to be about as good as possible. Because after the first month, if anything goes down sideways, if anything really bad happens, I can leave. Now, in 2500, our jump went really well. Now, I was in leadership, so obviously I had a huge hand in how well my jumper went. But, I mean, if you guys are more experienced players, then you can just be in leadership and make sure your jump doesn't suck. Over here in the Empire, every single time there is a VC going on, every single second of every single day, there's almost always a VC. This is one of the biggest things that you always want to see in a jumper Discord. Another thing you want to see is you want to see a whole bunch of emojis, things that are optically pleasing. You want to see server boosts, you want to see emojis, you want to see a whole bunch of interaction like that. You want to see active leadership, like Faye's a good example, or your active jump creators that are like consistently talking inside, consistently talking with people, and you want to see a lot of activity in chat and a lot of activity in voice chat. This is absolutely crucial if you're going to want your jump to survive, not just as a jump as a whole, but as a group of people. A really good example is there is a jumper group called Spartans. I've since left their server, it's been a while, but they were the first jumper group, I believe, ever to have 1,000 people in their Discord. I believe they absolutely exploded on impact, and they did not do well at all. Because they had 1,000 people in their Discord, but they didn't have 1,000 people jump with them. However, when it comes to the Golden Order or the Empire, they do extremely well with player retention. Generally, if you're a jumper group, and you have 400 people in your Discord, you might have 200 people jump, and then after the first 2 weeks, you might have like 100 to 150 of those original 400 people left. Now, if you do a sleeper, you're probably even going to have more of a loss or a gain, depending on how good your recruitment is in the new kingdom. However, it's very important that you have an active Discord and you have an active voice chat. Active voice chat is really huge for bringing the whole Discord together and encourages people to be vocal and active. Kind of stuff is really important. It's also really important that they have a decent moderation where they will ban people who are pretty cringe. Like, if you're really socially awkward, that's not really an issue, but if you're like directly like racist or homophobic or like otherizing in any way, right? This is like a group of people, and having people who are like outwardly attacking people based on immutable characteristics will absolutely murder a chat. It has nothing to do with if it's right or wrong. It has something to do with like, it will actually destroy your jump as a whole. So if you have people that are like otherizing other people, like that shit has to go, regardless if they're a whale, if they're not a whale, if they're F3P. Like, you let people get away with it, like pre-jump, they're always going to get away with it. And that's assuming that people say who they're going to whale are actually going to whale. Because a lot of people like to bring up their bank account. Oh, I spent this. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. I did this. I did this. I did this. There's a lot of people that have no fucking idea what's going on in this game that join jumper groups that want to tell you how you're going to be able to play late game, how much they spend, how much they make. Oh, my bank account, I make X and X and X and X. And you come into the game and suddenly, you know, they're like 2 million power in KvK 1. They're like, well, you know, I didn't really feel like it. You know, I felt really bad. Like, I didn't know if I was going to do this. Like, everybody has a bunch of excuses, right? But that is what it is. So next is going to be the plan. So what kind of plans do I like? So when I see a jumper, I want a certain amount of the population doing, like, I think a 9-day jump is okay, but I think it gets in the way of a sleeper, and I think a sleeper is pretty good. Between a sleeper and a full jump, for the individual, I think the sleeper's rather fine, and for like a group, I think it's probably better to have one group of people perhaps doing a sleeper, and one group of people perhaps doing a jump, and one group of people who are going to be there on day one, right? So the jump is really, really important for low activity players, right? So sleepers can jump in on day 10, right? So you'd have your sleepers and your jumpers start around the same day, and then you'd have your jumpers jump in immediately when they can, as soon as the kingdom opens, and you have your sleepers jump in when the kingdom's 10 days old. So the sleepers are going to have like a 20-day jump on the KD, and the jumpers are going to have like a 10-day jump. It just depends on like how active you are and how much thought wants to go into it. Also, the benefit of doing like a mass sleeper or double jumping, as it's sometimes known, is that you get all of the people that you are jumping from the first kingdom with. Especially if you've got like a lot of whales and stuff, because if people are doing sleepers, they start and they immediately start whaling out. They're like CH22, CH17, CH25, right? Like all of your whales are really showing their colors, you know, preening their feathers, all that good stuff. A lot of people want to come up with that, and because you have so many people that are already playing, you don't have that much player loss if you're recruiting from the start of a sleeper kingdom. Personally, I think having jumpers, sleepers, and people just starting raw in the KD is all fine. Just know that if you do a sleeper, it greatly limits the places where you can migrate. Same as a jumper, honestly. So you just have to be very cognizant of what you're doing if you're doing some kind of sleeper or jumper. Personally, I don't know if I would do either, but as a plan, you're going to want your jumper group to want some kind of mixture of all three of these so they can take advantage of their local kingdoms and be able to smash KvK 1. Another thing that I look for is I look for a decent sized population. So when I look at a Discord, I want that Discord to have between 400 and 600 people. You can have more than that and it can go well. You definitely cannot have less than that. Less than 400 people on a jump, I don't want to say it's doomed to fail. Some jumps have been very successful at less than 400, but at a certain point, you start to become too big to fail, where it's not a huge issue, you know, regardless of your size. Because if something goes very poorly, it's okay. If you lose half your members, you're probably still fine, right? You can still fit like 2 or 3 alliances in the KD. Ideally, you'd want 4 in final KD for like nice full alliances, and later on, as you get more flags, those will probably crunch down to like 2 or 3. Right? But you really, really need to be able to ideally start with 4, right? Because you only start with like 60 slots per alliance or something really small like that. And obviously you slowly build it all up. But you want all the active players in your kingdom to be able to go into one of your family alliances that's being run by 8 R4s and 1 leader at the bare minimum. And you want to have like a good spot for everybody to go. You want to have good territory plans, all that good stuff. All this stuff is super duper crucial because you're going to need a whole bunch of players for this. Whether or not they're whales or F2P really doesn't matter too much, because whales are number 1 going to be recruited, and number 2 going to be like found like diamonds in the rough. Generally, whales that tell you, like if somebody tells you like I'm gonna hit T5 on day 1, they're probably lying to you. As far as I know, I don't think it's ever happened, and I don't know if it ever will happen. It's not an impossible thing to do, but it costs like probably $35,000, something obscene like that. It might cost more depending on if you're doing a jumper and you're buying packs every single day of the jump. Maybe day 1 of Final Kingdom, it could be a little cheaper, but if it's day 1 of your account, like it's an absolutely ludicrous amount of money. And not only a ludicrous amount of money, but because they keep buying gem packs and gem packs don't drop gold chests, it's also really terrible for your kingdom. So if you hear somebody tell you that they're going to be T5 on day 1, they're probably lying to you, or they really don't care about your kingdom. And both ways is really bad. Yeah, so just be absolutely like so aware of like what's going on, because obviously like the Golden Order had the claim of like somebody hitting T5 on day 1, but that was, I never thought that was going to happen ever. Some of them thought it was going to happen, but obviously they were big enough size and they were well enough run to where it didn't matter if they had T5 on day 1 or not, right? So that claim wouldn't have been a huge issue because their entire group wasn't modeled over it. However, if you only have one whale and that whale is telling you how much money he earns, how much crypto he has, how many Bitcoin he has in the bank, he's like, oh yeah, you know, I pulled out of FTX before it failed. You know, if he's really talking all this hot shit and telling you he's getting T5 in day one, he's fucking lying to you, okay? He's lying straight to your face. You guys have to be aware of that. People will tell you shit all the time just to flex, like, oh yeah, I do this, I do that, I do that. Okay, these people will lie to your face to get some kind of jumper clout because they don't have to play in game yet and they don't have to prove anything. And you guys will eat it up. And you guys will base your whole fucking group around them and you'll fail because of it. So just be wholly aware that if you put all your eggs into some fucking whale that has no track record in this game, you will sink yourself. So next is going to be red flags. There are a few red flags I have. I don't want to call out any group specifically because obviously I don't want to call out like specific people, but red flags are going to come in a bunch of shapes and sizes. I think one of the biggest red flags you're going to find is somebody who talks to you about being in some of the oldest KDs in the game, right? We're talking about people who are like, oh, I'm in like 1002. So this was an excellent KD for like a pretty long period of time, right? There's nothing wrong with 1002. But if somebody tells you, oh, I'm in 1002 or I'm in 1001 or I'm in like, you know, I don't know these kingdoms well, but like, you know, 1044 or like any of these like 1000 series kingdoms or 1300 series kingdoms or something like that. They're like, oh, I'm a super old player. I have a bunch of knowledge. And these players will often get a lot of attention and people will listen to them, okay? If you're a super old player, it doesn't really mean that you have a lot of knowledge. You're just a super old player, right? Especially when you have people that have been playing for like 2 or 3 years that are not yet T5, right? That do not have at least 1 billion kill points, that do not have millions of deaths, right? All of these things are super massive, super duper red flags, right? When you see people listening to people like these, because generally that shit should be shut the fuck down. When you see people listening to these players that are essentially pulling credentials out of their ass, that can't answer like basic questions, that tell you to go like archers or cavalry or start to suggest like alternate unit types for the vast majority of players, that shit is crazy. Now, granted, there will be players that are like, oh, I think I'm going to go archers. I think I'm going to go cavalry. I think I'm going to go Japan for like samurai or something like that. I'm going to do this FTP or that FTP. And they're fine. There are casual players and there are rubes. Rubes are players that have been playing for a long time that fucking blow ass. There's a ton of these in the Raw community. A ton of them will claim seniority over other people. This is a huge red flag. If you see these people, especially in fucking leadership, you better be careful, right? People should be able to take criticism. I'm not talking about flaming them in public, right? I'm talking like DMing them, you know, I don't like this about your jumper plan, or I don't think this is a good idea, or be able to debate their ideas in the public forum, like the general Discord. They should be able to do all of this shit without falling the fuck apart, or calling you a noob, or telling you you're a farmer, or some shit like that, while they have really terrible stats proportional to their account age. So, when you see these players, these T5 day one type guys, these I'm gonna whale up, I make 100K a month type guys, like, you guys have to be really careful, because these guys, it's not only that they are bad because they won't be there, they'll also convince everybody of their absolutely dog shit ideas. It's the same type of people that'll tell you, oh yeah, like Martel, KvK1, dude, like, just hard invest into it, it's an FTP, like, you'll be fine, who needs that YSG guy anyway, right? Like, you will have awful ideas coming out. I cannot stress this enough. You need to be getting your information from other sources to be able to acquire like high quality information. You're gonna have to get it from a bunch of different sources and then compare them to each other. But not everybody's going to do this. I would go as far as to say the vast majority of players, number one, don't give a shit about the truth, and number two, just want to hear things they want to hear. Okay? Everybody, when they first start the game, looks at Martel and thinks, man, a Martel MG? I could probably do that. I could probably get like a 3rd place or a 4th place, nothing too fancy, but I'll get him to 5-3-1-1, 5-5-1-1. I'll just use him on the field of Sun Tzu, like, or I'll use him with YSG, it'll be so great. Every single fucking player has these ideas, and they are just looking for someone that they see with respect to tell them this, right? And if you have these fucking people in your goddamn jumper group, they will spread this absolutely dog shit information to all of your players, and your players will start to suck on average. That's horrible. That's a huge fucking red flag. The ability to like disseminate proper information and to tailor information to like specific people, to call information that's casual, and call information that's precise is a huge either green or red flag for jumper groups. So now that I've ranted about how dangerous it is to jump and all that good stuff, now is the jumper guide itself. Now is what you'll be looking for in a jump and how you specifically are supposed to jump. So we can say this is a jumper guide, but technically this is a starter guide. Whether you're looking to jump, to make a sleeper, or just start the game, the jumper guide just involves that you are going to be in the same kingdom as a jumper Discord, right? The jumper Discord is going to have leadership, they're going to have stability, they're going to have a whole bunch of people that are going to spend and manage the kingdom for you, so you don't have to worry too hard about it as a average ass player that just wants to be, you know, some kind of fighter and grow your account. okay? You're just looking for this stability. So this is technically a jumper guide, but it's a jumper starter sleeper guide, okay? So the first goal that we're gonna have, if you're going to be playing this game, you know, casually, of course, you don't need the 7-day skin. One of my favorite parts of starting this game is going to be the Glory of Battle event. I think this skin is awesome. I don't think it's awesome because I think cavalry attack is awesome. I don't think it's awesome because cavalry is awesome. It looks cool, but it's not even that it looks cool that makes it cool. It's the fact that it's something unique that if you do as an F2P, you can really flex it on other people. If you want to get this skin, you can A, either go to Logic Bank's channel and look at how he did it and follow that to a T, or B, you can, you know, start your account on a weekend and do a couple days of Lohar grinding. Lohar's trial. Thursday, Friday, or you know, after the first couple days of your kingdom's age, this is what you should be chaining. You should be chaining this as much as you can for like 2 or 3 days, and then after that, you will be able to finish Glory Battle. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot of work for sure, but it's gonna do a bunch of great shit for your account. So that's gonna be our first goal. Whether you do a 2-day jump, so you have 5 days to get the skin, or whether you don't jump at all, or whether you do a sleeper, or if you just raw dog the entire account and just drop it in the kingdom, and you just chain a bunch of Lohar to get to it, there's a bunch of different things you can do to get to the 7-day skin, but that's one of our main goals, right? I think it's a really cool thing to do. It's a solid milestone, and it gives you a great permanent cosmetic that shows how good of a player you are at the start. The next thing you're gonna want is a stable kingdom. Okay, you really only need a stable kingdom for the first month. After the first month, if your fucking entire kingdom falls apart, it does not matter. You can go do a new kingdom. Right? As we saw with the Empire earlier, they had issues with their jump in their KD pretty soon in, but they just all left to a new kingdom, and now they're all chilling. The jumper group is still together. They still talk to each other. They still VC all the time. Their Discord is still popping. These are all symptoms of like a jumper group that was pretty well put together, right? Even in the face of like great adversity, most jumper groups would have just exploded on impact. But because their kingdom was stable for a long enough time, they're able to just migrate and be okay. So stable KD, at least for the first month. And because after 1 month, then you can migrate again if you're doing a sleeper. Next, you're going to look to win KvK 1, right? Your jumper group itself doesn't have to win KvK 1, but a well put together jumper group with good recruitment, good leadership for 4 whole alliances should be able to smash KvK 1. It shouldn't be close, especially if you have like 4 to 8 recruiters. They're just messaging everybody in your continent and everybody nearby you in other kingdoms to try and get them to migrate to you. If you have those types of people, you should be able to win KvK 1 quite easily and quite convincingly. The next thing you're going to be looking to do is you're going to look to get to Season of Conquest ASAP. Whether you're running a sleeper or a jumper or a regular account, you're looking to get your account with your stable KD, you're looking to win KvK 1, you're looking to do as solid as you can early, and you don't want to migrate back at all. So everything you do needs to revolve around you doing well early game, so you never feel the need to ever migrate back. Because if you do migrate back, it's going to hurt your account in the long run. So you want to get to Season of Conquest as fast as possible. This is one of the reasons why I don't like a jumper. A sleeper is, it gives a little more of an advantage, so I can kind of like get with the little delay to sock, but the jumper, especially if you're doing like a 9-day jumper, is kind of painful for that. So I wouldn't suggest a 9-day. At most, I would do a 2-day jumper, and I think sleepers are awesome. Another thing I would suggest is like 3 to 7 farms. Another thing you can do with this is if you run a sleeper, you can make your account 1 farm and then 2 farms on another email. And then in your final KD, once you see it open, you can make 2 farms on 1 email and 2 farms on your second email. Right? So you can have a total of 7 farms ready for you to move if you do a sleeper. Now, I'm not saying everybody should run 7 farms, but you have it available if you want to do it, right? And having them built so early is generally really good. Now, do I run 7 farms? Fuck no. But I mean, it's a good if you want it. You have more area to grow, and it would help you out quite a bit. Especially early game, right? When you first start the game, if you're running blue stacks, you can multi-box 4 instances of blue stacks on 1 monitor, and then you can just kind of click around and it helps you develop all your farms, right? Then when the new kingdom opens up, then you can put the 4 new farms on that monitor and work on it as it opens up, right? It's pretty user-friendly to do that. Obviously, the most tedious part of building any kind of jumper or something like that is getting through all of your farms at the very beginning. It's super, 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 super annoying, but over time, it'll get better. So those are your goals as a jumper. Yeah, I mean, there's not really else to it. You know, more than that, I mean, obviously you'd have to go to the beginner guide, but having a jumper guide is mostly about picking a successful jumper group and applying the goals and the prerequisites we have to that group. Next, we're gonna have the sleeper versus jumper. I think jumping at 2 days maximum is generally okay. I think making a sleeper is pretty good if you're lower activity, but overall, I mean, I think like either 2-day jump or no jump is probably your best bet if you're like a decently active player. Like the ability to chain on Lohars will get you your 1.5 million skin, and the faster you get to sock, the better off your account's going to be. And yeah, I think that's going to be just about it. If you guys are looking for a straight beginner guide, I do have the perfect starter guide. That guide is probably going to tell you everything you need to know, but in terms of the jumper guide itself, The guide is mostly over how will I find a good jumper group that will wipe my ass for the first month of play, rather than like how do I min-max every jumping. You know, if you want everything written down to the T, the person to do that is going to be the Logic Bank. I'll write his channel in the description below. Really good guy. He'll tell you everything you need to know step by step. But for me, I'm the Bob Ross. I know kind of what I need to do. And, you know, if you follow the general blueprint, you should be fine. Other than that, guys, have yourselves an absolutely wonderful day. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys want to help support the channel, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing. If you guys want notifications when I go live, please hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and join the Discord in the description below. Every single time I go live or I post a video, I make sure to post a notification on that Discord. And if you want to contact me while I'm not live, the Discord is the #1 place to do that. If you guys want to go above and beyond and help support me out financially, please use the Streamlabs link in the description below. It's one of the best things you can do to help support the channel, as we're not sponsored by Rock in any way. Good luck with your jump and have yourselves an absolutely great one. Bye.